Story time with Brian. Story time with Brian. Today's episode is brought to you by Yerba Mate Tea, as well as all days that end in Y, because it's always a day that ends in Y. So why not? All right, boys and girls, children of all ages, gather around. Gather around your warm laptops, mobile devices, computers, whatever you may be enjoying this on today, and nestle in for this beautiful, fun story. Today's story is a story that may help you shift perspective. For me, it did. Where years ago, maybe, I don't know, 4 years ago, I don't know, time, what is time anyway? 4 years ago, this young client came in to see me to get some body work. His mother, actually. Fun story. Apparently, I was out at a Native American grounds for a sweat lodge, and his mother saw me and was like, my child needs to work with you. Never spoke a word to her. No idea who she is at the time. Anyway, she gets a hold of me. She gets my information, and she brings her child. At the time, I think he was about 7 years old, and very like highly engaged, high energy, high energy, high energy. And something about him, her mom, his mom wanted me to work with. And so I'm trying to work with him. He comes into my office. I'm trying to do like guided meditations, and really all he wanted to do was play with my crystals. I had like a whole bunch of crystals in my office, and he was playing like matchbox cars, like ramming like crystals together and making little things and playing with all the crystals in my office. That's all he wanted to do. Here's the odd thing is that when he was all done and his mom took him back, his teacher would be like, to his mother, what are you doing with him during the day when you take him away? Because whatever happens is he turns into this amazingly calm, present, and attentive boy in class, when that was not the case when you took him out. So I'm like, what am I doing? So I called one of my mentors, bring, bring. And I'm like, Steve, what's going on here? And he's like, Brian, he's meant to work with you for whatever capacity is. So just trust the universe that he came your way. All right, I have no idea what I'm doing here. Kind of felt like a fraud. It kind of felt like this imposter syndrome, right? We've heard about that before. And I felt like that, even though there was like clear evidence, and his mom was like throwing money at me. She's like, just please spend time with him. I'm like, okay, I'm not a babysitter, but I don't know what to do. Anyway, it didn't last very long. I think I only saw him about a half dozen times at best. But he taught me a really valuable lesson to really shift perspective. Not only with that, because my mind, I like for body work, I had to do these specific things, and like it has to look a certain way. And he completely shattered that. Well, he also shattered something else. And I'll never forget this. And I'm going to teach this as long as I live. This little 7-year-old boy, amazing man, young man. So, side note, for those that you don't know, or you do know, I'm a drummer. I've been playing drums most of my life. I love banging on things, and I love doing things. Well, a number of years ago, I made this. It's a nice frame drum. I made the whole thing from scratch. All the materials was provided by a friend, and I love this thing. It's great. Right? It's an amazing drum. It's an elk hide. Lots of prayers are in here. Anyway, so typically when one traditionally plays this drum, it's right, and then you can mix it up, whatever you want to do. I like to use my hands, do fun things. Anyway, so one day, the week that I had made this, I took this into my client, this little boy. And I said, hey, check out this drum. I think this would really, really great because, I mean, like I said, I met his mother at a Native American ceremony, sweat lodge. And so Native American drum, frame drum, right? Figure it wasn't too much of a stretch. Anyway, I said, hey, come check this out. Like, look, you can play this, check this out. And we're standing outside, And behind him is his mom and his younger brother or sister. I can't remember. Either way, his sibling. And I'm like, hey, play this, check this out, right? And he goes, no. Like you play with your fingers, you play with your hand. He keeps turning, he keeps hitting it like this. And I'm like, no. Play with your hands, the front of your hands, and he keeps smacking it with the back of his hand. And after about 3 goes of that, I'm like, oh, you little stinker bug. You're 7. I am what, 35 or 30 whatever at the time. I've been playing drums like 4 times as long, 5 times as long as you've been alive on this planet, and you just taught me something. And I'll never forget that moment. And what he taught me is don't think you know everything, kid. He was like my little guru in that moment. He was just like, oh, you silly little boy. You can use the back of your hand to play the drum just as much as you can use the front of your hand to play with the drum, right? And so I will never forget that boy. He always will be in my heart. And as a result, it's like, holy wow, right? Like, I thought I had this whole thing nailed down. I mean, I play on all sorts of things, as you may know, watermelons, drums, trees, dogs, humans, you name it. Like, if I can play it with these things, I'll play it. So I thought I had the creative bit nailed down. Turns out this little 7-year-old just like blew my mind, not only in the realm of percussion and drumming on things, but he blew my mind in the realm of like, I have something to offer. And it's sometimes just being in the presence of someone. And that's really hard for my ego to wrap itself around in the presence of, I need to be productive and do to get a paycheck on Friday, right? And here I am just hanging out with this kid, and he's like bashing crystals together. He's like, me, look at me, yay. And he like leaves happier and calmer than anything else. And so for me, it's like the memory of there's always, always, always another way. That's the moral of the story, kids, is if you think something has to be done a certain way, you're wrong, because there's so many ways to do things. And I just stabbed myself. Sorry there. Ooh, boy. All right. It's always new ways. There's always new ways to hurt yourself. There's always new ways to be creative, to think outside the box. And I love the children coming out these days because they completely see things with it's like the childlike mentality, right? The new way of seeing things. Tell you what, the younger generation have got a lot to teach us because them elders, a lot of times they think, boy, these kids, they ain't no shit. They know nothing coming into these days and they just ruining society and crazy thing and making it all weird. No, son, they's making it a better world. And if you really just pay attention to them, I think they got a good idea. So just listen and humble yourself, son, because the boys and the girls coming in these days know a little bit more than I think we do. We just got to give them the space to teach us. Be humble, listen to the little boys and girls. And hey, you little boys and girls, teach your parents something and remind them like, hey, there's more than one way to do things. More than one way. Many ways. Many, 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 many ways. All right. Thank you for listening to Story Time with Brian. This has been a wonderful episode. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe, do all the fun Facebook things that will pop up here eventually on these screens, and watch all the other videos that I do. They're great. I have lots of amazing videos. So yay. Have a beautiful day. Get out there, sing, dance, and remember, there's always more than one way to do something. So don't get so locked into one channel because it's not going to be worth it. All right. Be well, loved ones. I love you. Ciao.